Every single camper trailer, caravan, whatever, towable camping solution available on the market is a compromise. It's a compromise in some way. It's a compromise whether it's by weight, with comfort, speed of setup, price, physical size, insulation, power capacity, water capacity, everything. There's always a compromise. Sure, you can go and buy yourself the most expensive camper trailer on the market, something like a Brooder for $200,000, but it's still heavy. It's $200,000. There's nothing, it doesn't sleep enough people if you have a big family. Or you go the opposite end of the spectrum. You go for something like a soft floor camper, which is cheap, light, inexpensive, but takes an hour to set up. Every single camper is a compromise. When selecting this camper, I was aware of those compromises. This is fantastic off-road. It only weighs under 1.2 ton dry. It tracks perfectly with my car. It drives really well on the highway, so I get good fuel economy. It has a lot of storage. It has a lot of water capacity. It has a lot of battery capacity. It has good electronics, but it's a canvas tent on top, and canvas tents suck at staying cool. That didn't bother me so much, and it's actually something I didn't really even think about until two things happened. Number one, I had a kid and it got to summer. And number two was when I tried to work in it in summer. And suddenly I realized something needed to change. Now, was that change go and buy something that's insulated and that has a hard roof? Go and buy something like a hybrid caravan? Well, for a sort of starting hybrid caravan with similar spec to this, you're looking at, if it's Australian made, you're looking at 110 grand. That's double this, more than double this. These are about 50. So that's a lot of money to spend, an extra $50,000, $60,000 just to have something insulated on top. So I thought, well, surely there are other things out there that can make this thing work like that. And there are a number of things. So what I've done is I've collected all of those things, and I'm gonna show you from the cheapest, simplest option all the way through to a fully air-conditioned camper trailer. Mod number one to make this thing insulated. Just a reminder that to win a copy of my cookbook, there is a code word somewhere in this episode. So make sure you comment that code word somewhere down below on YouTube, and you can win either a copy of my book or the equivalent value on my online store. This big shiny fella here, that is a thermal blanket from a company called Minlaton Discounters, or Minlaton Discounters. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it'll be written on the screen. They're a South Australian company, and they do a cracking job. They make these covers for all kinds of campers, not just Cubs. This is a Cub Frontier, it's a forward fold. This is mine. My choice. And all Cubs you can get them for, and a lot of other camp trailers you can get them for. They cost about $700. They're very well made, they've got a good warranty. You do have to work out your own way to attach it. So I've got some tarp clips up there and a couple of bits of bungee cord. At the back I've just got one big bit of bungee cord, and here I've got some bungee cord. And yeah, look, I spent about half an hour with a ladder going around attaching it how I could, and this thing folds up with the camper. So I don't have to remove this and fit it each time. It is permanently attached to the camper. Now, how does it go? Well, I've used it in winter and I've used it in summer. In winter, it is fantastic. I was actually shocked at how much warmer it was inside the camper. Nights when previously I'd add an extra doona, turn the electric blanket on, that kind of thing. Yes, I do have an electric blanket in this. I ended up taking covers off because it was beautiful and warm. And I don't mean like it was hot. It certainly wasn't. It just maintains a nice temperature. I reckon it was kind of 18 degrees, 16 degrees, that kind of thing in there, and outside it was about 5. So it was a really, really big difference. I really noticed it kept the heat in well. In summer though, that's when I noticed it was a serious benefit. Now the reason I really needed this in summer, as I mentioned before, was we had a kid. Anyone who has had a kid before knows that kids need a day nap. If you're out in the bush, canvas tents turn into saunas in the bush. They really do. There's nothing you can do about it unless you do something like this. You really do need a cover on them. They need a second skin that is reflective. Today is 37 degrees here. It is hot. I think that's about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside here, I tested it on a 40-degree day and it got above 50 inside. So it's usually kind of about 25% warmer inside than it is outside. Now, I'm gonna go and check the temperature right now. I haven't done anything. I haven't even opened a window on this thing. All the vents are closed. This is a really harsh test on it, okay? So I'm gonna go and quickly check the temperature. It's an absolute mess in here, but I just thought I'd show you that I haven't even set anything up. 33.6. That's with all the vents closed. That is dramatically cooler than it previously has been. Usually on a day like this, I would say it would be about 48 in there. So it's dropped it by about 15 degrees, which is huge. By the way, I set this up about 2 hours ago. So I've really let it warm up. So let's start by opening some vents and we'll see what that does. So I've just opened up this vent, and this vent, so they're just mozzie net at the moment. I don't want to open this one up all the way because the sun's beating down. So what you do is you pull these out, and Cub give you these little awning pole things that keep it taut, so it stops the sun beating in and gives you a nice air pocket. Now once this is open, I will open that fly screen because that fly screen won't get hot. And on the back, we can actually do the same thing. It sort of works, it's not ideal, but I need to work out a better system for that with more elastic in it. But you can see that's all open. That'll start blowing through and we'll check the temperature in about half an hour. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes, half an hour sort of thing. So we'll see how much cooler it is. So if we get our little infrared thermometer. Sorry, the chair's still there. Middle of the bed, down to 28. So we've gone down 5 degrees, which is a good improvement by just opening the windows. So look, at the moment in here, you could easily sit here comfortably because of the airflow. I wouldn't say comfortably, I'd say you can sit here. It's not great. Step 2 on that is we turn on some fans. So I've just installed 2 Sirocco fans on this trailer. You can get them through Cub, you can get them from camping shops. They are expensive. If you don't want to spend the money on these, you could get, I've got like a Ryobi one that just runs off a Ryobi battery. And they're good, they're loud, they last sort of overnight on a big battery. Got my Red Vision on my phone here. So let's just turn these power points on and we'll turn the Siroccos on. So the question is, how does it feel on the bed? Because that's the big thing, is how does it feel on the bed? Not what is the exact temperature, it's how does it feel? If I didn't have that airflow, this would be very hot. It's a 37 degree day. It's never going to be cool in here, naturally. But I'd be happy to put Bill down for a nap here. I think he'd be totally fine. So, the reason you clicked on this video, can you run an aircon in a camper trailer? Let's find out. Now, because it's an aircon, we need to do the opposite of what we've just done, and we need to close all these vents. And then this one we're going to partially close, and that's because aircons need to be vented. So, turn the aircon on, it's on full blast. This thing draws a bit of power. It draws about 30 amps. So what I thought I'd do is I put my best foot forward and I put 2 of the most powerful solar blankets you can buy attached to the camper. So what I've done is grabbed 2 300 watt Red Arc solar blankets. Now, if we have a look in here, I've got 200 amps of lithium and a 2000 watt inverter to run all this, all from Red Arc. This is the Red Vision system. So if we look here, the thing is it's still at 99%. So we might even have to wait for the battery to drop a bit more to figure out exactly how much solar we're getting. But at the moment we're only getting 230 watts from it, purely because it's just not drawing enough out of it. Oh, here we go. It's ramped right up to 45 amps. By the way, the aircon unit is an Ecoflow Wave. They sent it to me to review, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I've also been running it in my office for about 4 or 5 months as my aircon, and it's a little bit noisy, but I actually quite like the noise. And I've had one issue with the app where I needed to update the firmware, which feels like a weird thing for an aircon. Other than that, it's been perfectly reliable. Plenty of power. question is, can you run it, I wouldn't say 24 hours a day, but certainly for, Bill likes to have a nap for kind of like 2 to 3 hours during the day. Can we run it for 3 hours? And then can we also cool down the camper from when it is hot, when it does get to, 33 degrees in there, and you go, okay, cool, I want to chill this down to a more reasonable temperature. Is it possible to do it with that unit? So we're going to find out. I have used it before in the camper, but only for about an hour or two, and it worked really well. But this is a proper test to see if we can sustainably, with this much solar and this much power being drawn, sustainably do it. This Red Arc system is bloody robust. I think the lowest I've ever had it was 25%, and that's because we were running a whole bunch of professional filming lights, filming for Channel 7 and charging drones and all kinds of things. We filmed for 2 days with no solar. So it's a pretty serious setup with the 200 amps of lithium, and then 150 in the car if I needed to tap into that as well. So yeah, all up I've got 920 watts of solar, including the car solar, 350 amps of lithium. If there was ever anyone who could run aircon, it'd be me. So let's see how we go. Now, what I will also say about this setup is I have another one of these 300 watt solar blankets that I use with my Delica. It puts out about 16, 17 amps pretty consistently. At the moment I'm only getting about 18 amps combined, and I realized, I looked at the time, it's 4:30. So the sun has dropped quite a lot, which means the efficiency of a solar blanket is going to go down dramatically. I had a look at my 120 watt on the roof, and it's only doing 40 watt. So what I might do is I'm still going to run this and figure out how well it goes cooling wise. But then tomorrow I'm going to do the test with the solar blankets in normal middle of the day conditions, which is when Bill has a nap. With this current system, I think it'll do 3 hours, no worries, but I would like to see how much solar I can get in good conditions. All right, it's been about 20 minutes. Let's go and check the performance and see how it feels in there. Oh, wow, it's amazing how different that feels. Like, amazing. I could happily sleep here right now. That is great. Okay, let's see how the power consumption's going. I don't want to get up. Genuinely don't want to get up. So this is what the app is saying now. So it's putting out 20 degree air. It feels like that. It's on full power. We've used 7% of the battery in about 25 minutes, half an hour, something like that. So based on that, so 50 amps minus, we'll find out what it puts out tomorrow. I can say 25. 4 hours would use half of my battery capacity in theory, but there's also lots of hours of it using bugger all, and I think it would charge up pretty well. I think we could run this thing for 4 hours a day and recharge. Like, I reckon we could end every day at 100%. Next stage is to see what happens if I set it a little bit lower. I'm not gonna go to full eco mode, but I'm just gonna turn the fan down to like a third and see what that does to the power consumption. Okay, 10 amps less. I might even, ooh, that's good. That's a nice temp there. Okay, how does it feel? It's nowhere near as good. It's the fan speed that's really good. So let's try a different mode. Eco. Now what eco does is it flicks between cooling and fan. So I'll put on full power fan. I'm going to change the settings on eco to make it go down as low as it can. Actually, if I plug these guys back in, what does that do? Use a combination of aircon and fan, which is logical. That's a pretty happy medium. I think I might have found a good medium. Use a bit of aircon, bit of fan, and let's see what our power draw is. Call that an average of 30, because I know that it cycles on and off.
The next morning.
So, how do we go? Well, it's about 10 in the morning now. We've got pretty good sun. It's not too hot, it's not too cool. And we're getting about 20 to 22 amps. So let's just say 20 amps. Now, what does that mean? If that aircon runs full noise at 50 amps, that's worst case, and this is doing 20, which it is very consistently. That means we'll have a total draw, a net draw of 30 amps off the battery. If we run that for 4 hours, we'll use 120 amp hours. I've got a capacity of 200 usable. So, no problem. 4 hours running that aircon, including an hour to cool it down. That's running it cold. Like, I would very happily sleep there under a blanket. So this is worst case scenario. What does it mean? Yeah, it's very doable. The other thing is we get 10 hours out of sunlight. So the other 6 hours, well, actually, if we're getting 20 amps, let's take off another, I don't know, average of about 3 amp hours, 3 amps of draw from the fridge and other things, maybe 4. Let's round it all up to 5. So we've got net 15 the rest of the time. Maths, 6 hours, 15 amps, that is 90 amps. Basically, we're gonna lose 15% a day, assuming we run the aircon for 4 hours every day. It's bloody good. That's during daylight hours. That's bloody good. Overnight, we lose a little bit. The reality is, I don't think I'll ever use the aircon on full power for more than about 2 hours. So we'll end up positive, well and truly positive. Then, not to mention the fact that I do have the car, I do have other ways of charging this setup if I need to, as in I've got a huge battery capacity in the car and extra solar and stuff, so I could plug the inverter into this, run it on AC, charge it at 30 amps, no worries, or just plug the aircon into the car for a bit if needed. It's all wiring that makes that really easy. So, moral of the story is, can you run it all day every day? No. Can you run it enough to cool it down and for your kid to have a nap? Abso-bloody-lutely. I think it's a really good system. Key to it is 2 things. Big battery capacity, big solar capacity. Use quality solar panels. These Red Arcs, I will say also, I think that this little double adapter thing I'm using is really limiting how much power is going in, because I know that I've had 15, 16 amps from one panel before, and at the moment we're only getting 20 from 2, and that's an identical panel. That tells me that there are some limiting factors in the wiring, and I reckon if you were to do this constantly, I would make sure that I got thick, fat cables, including the double adapter, so that we don't lose any power. But yeah, even in exactly the conditions I've got now, it definitely works. Let's talk about cost. Aside from the camper, which I already had with the battery system, we've got $3,000 worth of solar panels, 1,000, or let's just say 1,000 for the blanket and the fans, and 2 for the aircon unit. That's $6,000. That's so much money to run aircon. It's so much money. I've done this because I'm in a privileged position where I can test this gear and I don't have to fork out for it. But you know what is more expensive? Buying an insulated caravan or an insulated camper trailer. They're also bigger, they're heavier, they're more annoying to tow. I feel like I'm getting an extra kind of 40 grand worth of trailer for that 6. I don't tend to go camping in places where it is that hot during the day often. So for me, when we've got a second kid, which we will soon, and we've got 2 kids needing to nap, this system truly is excellent. So look, I know everyone's going to roast me in the comments. That's such a stupid amount of money. You're bloody soft. You know, what did people do in the past? Camping has gotten so complicated. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, I'm still in a camper trailer. I'm not in a caravan. There are plenty of people with more expensive setups. This has been a fun experiment and something that I've always wanted to know the answer to. I don't think it's the most practical or efficient or anything solution. It's just a solution and one that I'm really happy with. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.